Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to give everybody about 1 more minute before we get started. All right, so hello again. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to today's webinar. So my name is Jenna, and I work for Emerging Destinations. We represent cool companies and cool places. Today I'm being joined by Nicola from the Guyana Tourism Authority with special guest Tony Thorne, who's the Managing Director for Wilderness Explorers. So they're going to be talking to us today about the South Rupununi circuit in Guyana, and of course, the company Wilderness Explorers and the activities that they offer in the area. Before we get to that, I just wanted to take a quick minute to introduce our portfolio to you. So as I'm sure you're becoming more familiar with this, just a quick second to introduce some of the different areas that we are operating in. So in South America, we have Hotel Las Flores and Fantastico Sur, Cruz Andino in Patagonia, Chile and Argentina, Jungle Experiences doing the Peruvian Amazon River cruising, Guyana, of course, the Guyana Tourism Authority, which we're here with today. And then we have Grand Hotels Lux in Uruguay and Argentina. Moving a bit further north, we have Terra Nova doing Costa Rica travel design. We have our African portfolios, so Kelly and Peacock, Elawana Collection, and Sky Safari. They're operating in Tanzania and Kenya, eco training in South Africa, and adventure consults in Rwanda, Uganda. And then lastly, we have our polar cruise. So we have Adventure Canada specializing in the Canadian Arctic, and then Iceland Pro Cruises and Pro Travel in Greenland and Iceland. So if you have any questions about any of our other clients, or if you'd like to order brochures, receive any digital links, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is at the bottom of the screen there. A couple of housekeeping items to go over before we get started. This webinar will be recorded. So if you need to step away for any reason, please do not worry, as we will be sending out the recording to everyone early next week. We'd also like to welcome you to participate throughout the webinar. So you can send us over a question or a comment throughout Nicola's or Tony's presentation using the GoToWebinar control panel that you'll see on the right-hand side there. Time permitting, of course, we will try to answer as many of these questions as possible at the end of the session. But if not, we will make sure to send all of the answers to you in our webinar follow-up next week. So on that note, I'm going to hand things over to Nicola, who's going to start us off today. So over to you, Nicola.
Thanks, Jenna. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone on the call. I hope you're all keeping safe and well during what's going on in the world right now. But this presentation is going to help you get a little bit more information on the South Rupununi circuit of Guyana specifically, and hopefully inspire you and continue to inspire you to travel after everything is over. So we will be starting off with a video. So let me just get that teed up here for you guys.
Are you ready to embark on a truly epic adventure to an undiscovered corner of South America, where some of the most spectacular natural attractions are unveiled within a beautifully diverse landscape? From the wetlands and savannas to the ancient mountains, magnificent waterways and lush enriching rainforest would provide a vast playground for some of the most exotic and breathtaking creatures on the planet, including many of the world's giant species. This untouched land of mystery and wonder serves up an exclusive experience for travelers. So are you ready for a new, awe-inspiring adventure? Welcome back to nature. Welcome to Guyana.
Thank you all for staying part to that video. If you can all see my screen now, Guyana is a rare kind of place, one where you can still find nature in its original form and nature's beating heart. Throughout this presentation, you're going to see another video when Tony gives his part of the presentation, and at the end, we do have a special one for everyone online and on the webinar right now, so do stay tuned. As mentioned, my name is Nicola Balaram. I am the Senior Officer of Marketing at the Guyana Tourism Authority. We are the official destination board for Destination Guyana. Joining us today for one of our only DMCs in country is Tony Thorne, who is the Managing Director of Wilderness Explorers. You can find both of our contact information below. If you have any questions during the webinar and after as well, please feel free to reach out to us. My job here is simple. I'm just going to give you some basic facts about Guyana. If this is the first time you're joining our webinar, welcome. Tony will dive a little bit more deeper into the South Rupununi circuit of Guyana, which is a bit more of one of our popular circuits, and carry you through what a typical itinerary wilderness explorers can provide to you and your guests as well. So Guyana is a small South American nation, just about the size of Idaho and located just below the Caribbean Sea and sandwiched between Venezuela, Brazil, and Suriname. It is the only South American country where English is the official language. We thought it would be important to also share with you what's going on with COVID-19 in Guyana right now. So these are just some of the key bullet points that you should know throughout the country. We do have a nationwide curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Our borders were closed on March 18th. And right now they're closed until June 3rd, 2020, and that will be the next potential reopening date. Should that change, we will obviously update everyone on that position as well. It's encouraged to wear masks when going out in public. Most businesses in Guyana are not serving you unless you have a mask. You must sanitize before entering any building in Guyana. Essential services, including hotels, are still allowed to be open during the non-curfew hours. All local businesses have increased their sanitation protocol, which is great to know. Restaurants only do takeout and delivery services. All public gatherings are restricted in Guyana. And as of May 12th, the number of persons tested within the country is 986. The number of active cases is 113. The number of deaths in the country are 10, and the number of recovered persons are 39. So it's great to know about the destination where we're found, but how do we get there? You can get to Guyana through many flight connections. These are some of the airlines listed that served Guyana when it was open. From the United States of America and Canada, we do have direct connections and semi-direct connections with a stop in Trinidad with Caribbean Airlines from JFK, Miami, and Toronto. American Airlines through JFK and Miami as well. For our international carriers that are US based, American Airlines started its flights from Miami since November 16, 2018, and JFK New York in December 18, 2019, with 4 flights weekly from each port. JetBlue was supposed to be serving Guyana in March 2020, but due to everything going on, they have pushed back their date to October 26, 2020. Eastern Airline was also scheduled to service Guyana from JFK, New York on March 18, 2020, but have also postponed. They have not released a tentative date as yet, but when we get that information, we would greatly share it with everyone here. So what is the Guyana tourism product? Our tourism product and the experiences you have here can best be defined in 5 main pillars or areas of tourism: nature and wildlife, active exploration, culture and heritage experiences, birding, and conservation and safe travel. One thing that's extremely important to note is that although we do have 5 distinctive pillars of tourism or areas that you can enjoy, any experience you have in country can always capture 2 to 3 of these experiences. You can go wildlife spotting and you're going to be able to do nature and wildlife, active exploration. You can do some birding and conservation and safe travel as well, depending on the type of activity you do. Guyana's 83,000 square miles can be divided into three main tourism geographical regions: our coastlands, rainforest, and savannas. 90% of the population lives along the coast, leaving the lush interior of the country untouched and ready to be explored. No trip is complete without a visit to Kaitoura Falls. This is one of the highest attractions in country. It's 741 feet and one of the most powerful single drop waterfalls in the world. Guyana is known as a land of six races or six groups of ethnic peoples, but some of the most common faces you're going to see on your travels are those of African descent, East Indian descent, and our indigenous peoples, which Tony will get a little bit more into when he gives you a little bit more of an experience and explanation of the South Rupununi circuit. So with this, I'm gonna hand it over to Tony to carry you through and welcome you to the South Rupununi.
Thank you, Nicola, and hello to everyone, and thank you for joining us to learn about Guyana and the South Rupununi specifically. Just very quickly, a little bit about Wilderness Explorers. We've been offering nature and adventure travel within Guyana since 2004. As Nicola mentioned, we're the only destination management company in Guyana. We also do our neighboring countries and do combinations with Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, and Caribbean. So welcome to the South Rupununi. My visit to the South Rupununi, my first visit was in 1993, and I certainly fell in love with that region of the country. Just to give you a bit of a feel for the essence of Guyana, it's, as already mentioned, an untouched land. And even within Guyana, the South Rupununi is even more remote and rarely visited. To give you some perspective, the country's 83,000 square miles, or as Nicola mentioned, about the size of Idaho, or if you're in Europe, about the size of Britain, but only has less than 750,000 people, and most of those live on the narrow coastal belt. There is only one north-south road running through the country, and it's only sealed for the first 60 miles. The largest aircraft in the country only has 18 seats. In the time before Corona, Guyana received less tourists a year than Machu Picchu received in a day. So it really is untouched and unexplored, and that just gives you some feel for the country. So how do you get to the South Rupununi? You can travel by road. As I mentioned, there's a road running from Georgetown down to Lethem, which is the main town in the area. This is an exciting journey through the rainforest and savanna. It's 340 miles or 550 kilometers, and it can take from 12 to 24 hours depending on the road conditions. Or you can take a public bus if you wish, or you can self-drive, and it's easy to break your journey on the route, staying at some great lodges in the rainforest and savannas as you head south. Sorry, I went a bit too fast there. So if you're going to fly, it's about a 1 hour flight or 1.5 hours, depending on the type of aircraft. Or you can even take a small aircraft and charter and fly directly into the South Rupununi itself. So our flights go into Lethem, which is the main town on the border with Brazil. It's a frontier town. It's where the North Rupununi and the South Rupununi meet. It's the only official border crossing into Brazil, so that from there you can easily drive to Boa Vista and catch flights further into Brazil or rest of Latin America. So on our journey today into the South Rupununi, we're going to start by heading out towards Sand Creek. So here's a map here to give you some idea. So Lethem is on the left on the border with Brazil. That's the main town where you would arrive if you're flying. To the right of that is the Kanuku Mountains. So these mountains actually separate the North Rupununi savannas from the South Rupununi savannas. The north is actually quite well established with tourism in comparison to the south. The south is quite undeveloped in that regard. So the Kanuku Mountains themselves, they feature 80% of Guyana's biodiversity. So they're very rich in wildlife and nature. So our first stop is at Sand Creek, which is on the Rupununi River, and the road out there, as you can see here, it's a vast tropical wetland leading out to the Kanuku Mountains. For much of the year, this area is dry, but during our big rainy seasons in May, June, and July, this area turns into a flooded wetland. Indigenous tourism is one of the very special features of Guyana, and the emphasis very much in our interior region is on Indigenous community tourism. And the Rupununi, it boasts a lot of award-winning lodges, but the south, as I mentioned, is far less developed in tourism and very much in its infancy, which makes it an exciting prospect for intrepid travelers who do want to get off the beaten track. At the DMC, for us, it's very rewarding to be working with communities to help them to develop sustainable tourism in their villages. These shots here is of us just last year down meeting with the village council in Sand Creek and talking about and helping them develop their tourism opportunities. Strangely, this part of Guyana has a vaquero culture. So the vaqueros are what you would call cowboys, and the South Rupununi has a strong culture in this respect. Sand Creek, like many other villages, have cultural groups, but down here it's very much about the cowboy culture that you experience within this region. So this is young people from the community, and they like to display and show people their culture. From Sand Creek, heading to Saddle Mountain, which is to the southwest of there. Saddle Mountain in a remote area, driving out there across the savannahs. So these are some photographs from our journey out there last November. It seems like a desolate savanna has actually got quite a lot of wildlife. In the two photos on the left, you can see giant anteater. I found it very unusual to encounter them on this particular journey because we were in the middle of the day and it's not normal to see them in the heat of the day. So we were particularly lucky to get very close views of the giant anteater. And in Guyana, birds are always plentiful, and along the roadside, amazing great views of a jabiru stork. The terrain out here is very tough, very harsh conditions. This is fairly typical of a vehicle in Guyana. You're not going to get luxury Land Rovers out here. The vehicles get beaten up pretty badly by the terrain. The guide Leroy there, he's from the village of Shunanab. He's an Indigenous person. He's a great conservationist and a leader in his community for tourism. And we also, on the same trip, came across a couple of burrowing owls, and they were right in the middle of the road as we were traveling to Saddle Mountain. The ranch itself is a working cattle ranch. Accommodation is very simple cabins with thatch roofs. In fact, Guyana doesn't have any luxury lodges at all, really. The luxury is in the untouched wilderness and being able to escape from people and to experience nature. With such a tiny population in this area, there's practically no light pollution, and the night skies are really magnificent. There's opportunities for camping, and whilst you're at Saddle Mountain, you can join in with the cattle work. You can go out horse riding in the savannas, taking walks along the creek, and swimming in natural pools. Next, we're going to head to Aishelton, which is down to the south, at the very southern part of that map there, just near the Rupununi River. Aishelton is the last village in the Rupununi Savannah before the rainforests start again. The next nearest village to Aishelton is Conishan, and this is where the Wai people live. To give you some idea of the isolation of the Wai, to get there from Aishelton, which would be a combination of trail and river, can take up to 12 days to get there. So Aishelton itself is a indigenous community. They are the Wapashana tribe. Guyana has 9 different tribes of people, and the Wapashana are the predominant tribe of the South Rupununi. Aishelton is particularly known for what is probably the most comprehensive collection of petroglyphs in Guyana. Most of them are on or around the small Makatu Mountain near the village, and is one of Guyana's best known archaeological sites. From the top of the mountain, you can get spectacular views across the savannah to the distant Kanuku Mountains. The petroglyphs, which are carvings in the rock, as you can see here. Very little is known about the meaning of the carvings, but they are most likely messages left by people to indicate where there's good hunting, where there's good fishing, perhaps a good place to grow crops. It is, I guess, an ancient type of social media. This particular area has 686 petroglyphs, the most of any site in Guyana. These petroglyphs are rarely visitors, and travellers can enjoy ancient modern history minus all the crowds. These petroglyphs have been dated between 3,000 to 5,000 BC, so they've been around there for a long time. Also in the area, 84 stone tools have been discovered at the site that were used to make these carvings. From our Shelton then, we're going to travel in the northeasterly direction towards Sheer Rock. Sheer Rock has historically been a sacred site for the Wapishana Nation. It rises 676 feet or 206 meters above the savannah. It's not a difficult walk to get to the top, but it's worth it for the amazing views across the savannah and rainforest in the distance. From Sheer Rock, you can drive around to Dadanawa Ranch. Dadanawa is the largest working cattle ranch in Guyana. In fact, it was once the largest ranch in the world until parts of it were split off into smaller ranches. Today, it's still around 2,000 square miles in size. This is a working ranch, and the accommodation is in simple, weather-beaten ranch and bunkhouses. It is a great place to explore the nearby Rupununi River for black caiman, or into the savannah for giant anteater and jaguar and other amazing wildlife. Here, the cowboys or vaqueros, they work the cattle ranch. They're particularly tough people. As you can see on the right photograph, the vaquero is wearing his chaps and spurs, but riding bare feet. They actually put the stirrups between their toes. In the middle photograph, you can see even in the corral when they're branding cattle, still barefooted. We do, however, recommend for any visitors to wear boots. As a working cattle ranch, you can join in with vaqueros rounding up the cattle and working them in the corral. Not too far from Dadanawa is the small village of Katunarib. In here, you can join a family and see how they live and learn about cassava culture. Cassava is a root vegetable similar to a manioc, and within the Amerindian culture, it has 9 different uses, ranging from making bread, which they're doing in the photographs here, through to preserving meat and making their alcoholic drinks. So you can try yourself at making cassava bread and then join the family in their house, which you can see in the background there, a very traditional house, and have lunch with them, eating traditional Amerindian style food. A short distance from here to Wichabai. So Wichabai is a new ranch started by Dwayne De Freitas, the former manager at Dadanawa. It's only a 5 to 10 minute drive from Dadanawa Ranch across the Rupununi River. Dwayne's son Justin is now the manager of Dadanawa and lives with his wife at Wichabai. So the ranch sits next to the river, and 2 visitor cabins are just a few hundred meters from the main ranch house and next to an airstrip. What looks like just a track there is actually an airstrip where you can land by charter aircraft right at the ranch itself. This is the newest and best accommodation in the South Rupununi. The large bedroom with 2 beds opens onto a large veranda with hammocks. Behind the room is an ensuite bathroom featuring an open-sided shower, another opportunity for more bird watching. Meals are served at the huge open veranda at the main ranch house. It's positioned so it overlooks a pond, so even while having lunch you can be bird watching over the pond there. From the ranch you can go out on the Rupununi River. There's excellent canoeing available there, and that allows for great wildlife opportunities along the riverbank. The area, which has a mix of savanna, rainforest covered mountains, rivers and ponds, means excellent habitats for wildlife and bird watching. There's even a hide overlooking the pond beside the main ranch house. If you want to join in with some more cultural activities, you can learn how to make a bow and arrow and how to use it. You can even spin your own cotton, and if you were to stay long enough, you could potentially make your own hammock. Wichabai is a hub also for the South Rupununi Conservation Society. This is a small society set up by the local community, primarily in the beginning to help look after the endangered red siskin. The red siskin was formerly only ever known for a limited range within within Colombia and Venezuela, and was nearly made extinct due to the pet trade. A family of these was found in Guyana about 20 years ago, and the society was set up to help look after this particular species, and they now run tours to see the bird. The society has in recent times started doing research on giant anteater. This is a shot from one of their camera traps, and as a visitor you can head out with them in the mornings looking for and recording the data for the giant anteaters. Of course, being a working cattle ranch, they have a strong vaquero culture as well, so good opportunities for horse riding and working the cattle there at the ranch as well. Wichabai is also a great starting point to head off on the Rupununi River on a boat expedition. The Rupununi River runs through the middle of the Kanuku Mountains, and this is a protected area within Guyana. So the journey through there is through uninhabited rainforest, pristine river setting, great opportunities for getting deep into the rainforest. If you head through the Kanuku Mountains on a trip like that, you end up at Mapari. So Mapari is a tributary of the Rupununi River. It's a clear water river, which is unusual for Guyana. Most of them are dark rivers. This enables you, as you're drifting along the river, to see electric eels, stingrays, and fish. And at night, you can do amazing night floats down the river, spotlighting for bird life and wildlife along the river banks. The camp itself is a simple hammock camp on the edge of the river. The bathroom is a small waterfall as it tumbles into a natural rock pool. And your toilet is a latrine in the forest. So it's a real immersion in the rainforest, not necessarily for everyone, but for people who really want to get off the beaten track, this is a great place to visit. Whilst there's opportunities to see species like the Goliath bird-eating spider. This is the largest spider in the world by mass. The photograph on the right there, that white sack at the back, that's actually full of baby spiders. So you're probably wondering, how big is the spider? This gives you some idea. It's about the size of your hand or a small dinner plate. One of the other main reasons to visit there is the harpy eagle. Just a short 3-minute walk from the river bank, you can get to a rocky outcrop, and that allows you to get to a height where you can see into a nest. This is a photograph I took a couple of years ago with my fairly small camera, and that's the sort of view and the vantage point you get. I've been to many harpy eagle nests, and this is definitely the best one for the best views that you'll get anywhere. A few hours after this shot, we came back to the nest site, and the adult had returned to the nesting site. I'm now going to switch over to a short video of Mapari to give you a feel for what an amazing place it is. So hopefully this has got it right.
This is unbelievable.
The best view ever.
So as you can see, a very spectacular setting. Harpy eagle's the largest raptor in the Americas. The way it hunts, it flies through the treetops, rips a sloth or a monkey out of the trees, and then crushes its skull with its talons. So getting that close to a species like that is quite incredible. So I'm now just going to share with you a very short, or very quickly, an itinerary to give you a sample itinerary of what's available in the Rupununi. We can, of course, customize these, but this does give you a feel. So day one, you arrive in Guyana. Most flights tend to arrive in the evening into Georgetown, and you would overnight in one of the best hotels in the city, Cara Lodge. It's a beautiful old 150-year-old heritage house turned into a small hotel. Following day, you would take a flight from Georgetown and you would fly into Lethem. From there, you picked up and by four-wheel drive, head out to Shulanab, have lunch in the community there. It's an Amerindian community, and then onwards to Saddle Mountain. The accommodation at Saddle Mountain, as you can see in the bottom left-hand side there, just very simple ranch house style accommodation. Opportunity then to do hikes along the creek. It's of course a working cattle ranch, so you can go out, work cattle, bird watching, swimming in a natural pool close by. Following day then, up at dawn, out and do some horse riding. By horseback is a great way to go out and look for wildlife. As you can see here, you can get out onto the savannahs and great opportunities to get very close to giant anteaters. From there, by four-wheel drive onto Witchabai Ranch, which has some of the nicest accommodation you'll get in the region. On day four then, go and visit an Indigenous family, see how they live their life, the cassava process, and then exploring the area by horseback in the afternoon. And then overnight that night at Witchabai again. Day five, head out to Ishelton to see the vast array of petroglyphs that are in the savannah there, and overnight in the very simple guest house in Ishelton. Day six then, leave very early in the morning to head out to Sheer Rock, to climb it, to see the sun coming up over the savannah and rainforest, and then head to the small Amerindian village of Rupunau and stay with a family in the village. The next morning then, head out into the savannah to search for the endangered red siskin. Very few people ever get to see this particular bird because of its limited range in this area here. Never guaranteed with any wildlife, but you have a very, very good chance, probably 90–95% chance of seeing a red siskin. You then get to have lunch at Auntie Irene's in Sand Creek, a real character, and just amazing to be in her community and spending time with her and hearing her stories. And then that night back to Witchabai Ranch. Day eight then, head out with the South Rupununi Conservation Society to look for and record data on the giant anteaters. And in the afternoon, take a canoe trip on the Rupununi River. Day 9 then, a bit of bird watching and wildlife watching before transfer back to Lethem, flight back to Georgetown, and the following day, head off back home again. So an itinerary like this, as you can see here, rates starting at just short of $4,500 per person based on a group of 2 people. And then the cost obviously goes down as the group gets larger. Includes pretty much everything in country, apart from dinners really in Georgetown. Otherwise, everything including flights, guides, vehicles, everything's included. And then as this is a new tour, we're just introducing it, we're offering 10% off these rates through to the end of this year. And finally, at midnight tonight, we're launching our new website. So we invite you tomorrow, come on, have a look. We've spent a lot of time rebuilding our website. We're pretty proud of it, and we'd really welcome you to come in and have a look at lots of the other product that we offer, not just the South Rupununi, but all of Guyana. And we'd love to have your feedback on that. So back over to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Tony. Let me just get my screen up here. So I'm just going to close off the webinar. For more information, please visit guyanatourism.com. This is the official destination website of Guyana. It is operated and monitored by the Guyana Tourism Authority. We actually will be revamping this website pretty soon as well. The website for Wilderness Explorers is wilderness-explorers.com. And as Tony mentioned, it will be up and running tomorrow morning. So please do go and visit for more inspiration, more information, and to find out more that Wilderness Explorers offers and that you can offer to your clients as well. To visit the Tourism and Hospitality Association of Guyana, which is a private sector sister agency to the GTA. It's also a membership organization for local tourism businesses. Please visit exploreguyana.org. For more information on statistics for Guyana, please visit statisticsguyana.gov.gy. For investment opportunities on the website of the Guyana Office for Investments, please visit goinvest.gov.gy. And for the official website of the Cheddi Jagan International Airport, which is one of the main airports that serves the North American markets, please visit cjairport-gy.com. Before I close it off and open it for any questions, and to the last video that we did promise you, for support for new operators and airlines from the Guyana Tourism Authority, that's a picture of our team there that encompasses our destination marketing team, as well as our travel industry development team, our finance and operations team. And we cannot do the job that we do for the destination that we do without the support of our local industry partners as well, such as Wilderness Explorers, other operators, guides, and establishments as well. From the GTA, we do provide key information and assist with coordinating travel-related events, to set up interviews, work with joint advertising, support for familiarization trips, reception at the airport when needed, help to negotiate hotel rates, and help building the capacity of the Guyana private sector. We also want to take a moment to thank Jenna, who is part of our North American team and be able to help facilitate this webinar. And I encourage you to reach out to Jenna directly or myself. We do have some more that we are planning for the rest of the year. If there are any specific topics that we covered last year you'd like us to revisit, or any new topics, we'd be grateful to get your feedback as well to help deliver the content that is most helpful to you during this time. With that, I will be sharing our last video before we open it up for any questions here. So this video we did just as the pandemic was becoming a little bit more stringent around the world, and we actually launched it on Earth Day in April. And it's just a quick reminder and a very thoughtful reminder as to that we are still here after all of this is over, and we will be ready to welcome you to Guyana. Do enjoy.
As the world experiences a new norm, let's take a moment to slow down, to refocus, reimagine, dream. Let's dedicate the time to take it all in. We are gaining a fresh understanding of how connected we truly are, and gaining a new appreciation for all we have. The freedom to explore new places, meet new people, experience new things. We have much to be grateful for and to look forward to. Our friends and loved ones, the memories we share, the new experiences we will have, the new friendships we will make. Those days will return, and when it is safe to travel again, we will be here waiting for you, waiting to say, welcome back to nature. Welcome to Guyana.
All right. With that, I'll give it back over to Jenna for any questions that anyone may have.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you, Nicola. Thank you, of course, Tony, for joining us. He's joining us from the UK, so it's the evening time for him. So we really appreciate you taking the time to give us this webinar today. All of those videos and everything. I mean, if you don't feel inspired to go to Guyana after that, I don't know what will. That's truly, truly amazing as we all sit here at home to see a little piece of the untouched world that both of you are both so passionate about. So thank you for sharing that with us. We did have a few questions come through. Now, of course, we don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll just ask a couple of them. The rest of them will be answered in our webinar follow-up, so don't worry, we will make sure you get the answers to those if we don't go through them now. So, Tony, a couple questions for you. The first question that we had come through was, are there any of your tours that you'd say would be suitable for people who do not want to walk or hike a lot, or who simply cannot, not necessarily in a wheelchair, but just aren't the most mobile? Do you have any recommendations for a package or a tour for them?
Yeah, perhaps not the South Rupununi. It's a bit more challenging and more arduous, but certainly sort of in the North Rupununi, we often get people who are less mobile, as long as they're willing to be adventurous. And a lot of our trips will be in boats, so you don't need to walk. You can get out into ponds and on the rivers and see great wildlife. And we're really happy to customize trips, make it suitable for people. So it's not unusual for us to have perhaps older clients who are less mobile and they want a trip tailored around their needs. So absolutely, we can do that, and we would customize something for people in that situation.
Okay, wonderful. And then the second question, and we'll just tie it up after this, but the question is for you, Tony. Are the guides local at each ranch or site, or do you send along one dedicated guide for the whole itinerary?
Yeah, I see that's Peggy from Peggy Newfield, a friend of mine. She's been to Guyana with me. So Peggy, that particular itinerary that I shared with you then, that is with a dedicated driver and guide with the customers throughout. But if we can do less expensive trips by using local guides at each location where they don't have one guide throughout. So it depends on budget. I always recommend, if people can afford it, have your own guide. They get to learn you, they get to find out what the type of things that you like. If budget's more of a concern, then using local guides, which are really great guides at each location, is a slightly less expensive option.
All right, perfect. Well, on that note, we will make sure to send out those URLs that Nicola had posted a couple slides ago, and we will also make sure to send or share any videos that we are able to with you as well in the webinar follow-up. So I promise I will get that to you at the beginning of next week. One last thing to mention, next week, same day, same time, Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, Wilderness Explorers will be hosting another webinar with us. So please remember to register for that. I can also include a registration link in the webinar follow-up so that it makes it easy for you. But I just wanted to say thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, of course, Tony and Nicola.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jenna.
Jenna. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. And by the way, it won't be me presenting next week. I'll have someone else to listen to from our company. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes, we'll have Andrea joining us next week, so please remember to tune in for that. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful Thursday.